It's clear that each country in a generational crisis era is on a trend line to become increasingly nationalistic and belligerent towards the other, and it is also clear that these trend lines will continue on the same path until they result in war. From the point of view of generational dynamics, it is not a question of if, but of when, and with the rapid rise in nationalism on both sides, when may not be too far off. Of course, with all of the saber rattling, North Korea doesn't want to be left out either. Satellite images reveal North Korea is constructing a submarine capable of getting the North Koreans' newly developed ballistic missiles within range of the United States coastline. CNN reported, doing a major test would be a way of trying to intimidate the incoming president. North Korea chooses particular windows that they know will gain maximum attention from the world, and the U.S. in particular. And Iran, after having plane loads of cash and sanctions lifted, is playing its hand. Washington Free Beacon reported the Obama administration misled journalists and lawmakers for more than 9 months about a secret agreement to lift international sanctions on a critical funding node of Iran's ballistic missile program as part of a broader ransom package earlier this year that involved Iran freeing several U.S. hostages, according to U.S. officials and congressional sources apprised of the situation. Breitbart wrote in a speech delivered last month in Tehran and translated this week by the Middle East Media Research Institute, Mohsen Rafidoust, who was minister of the IRGC during the 1980s in the Iran-Iraq War, added that IRGC ground forces are 5 times better than the U.S. Army, saying, despite all the enemy media and cultural propaganda against us, if America wants to try its luck against us, it should know that we are completely capable of mobilizing 9 million fighters. And of course, China, with its ambition to become the world's next superpower, is readying its populace for war against the United States. In a Pew Research poll conducted with Chinese citizens, just under half of the respondents said the U.S. is a major threat, according to the report, marking the highest percentage among the 7 potential threats tested on the survey. The other threats included global economic instability, climate change, cyber attacks, and the Islamic State. World War III is heating up, and the United States is on autopilot.
Now, authorities issued an alert for several Mexican states after thieves snatched potentially deadly radioactive material used for industrial radiography. The iridium-192 source, marked XF71, was inside a container when it was stolen from a truck in Cardenas, a town in southern Tabasco state.
As president, I will make it clear that the United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack. We will be ready with serious political, economic, and military responses.
Sometimes I'm criticized in my own country for professing a belief in international norms and multilateral institutions, but I am convinced that in the long run, giving up some freedom of action, binding ourselves to international rules, over the long term enhances our security.
Led by a weak commander-in-chief that has brought military levels down, backed by a State Department embarking on a strategy of foreign policy that has begun a brand new Cold War with Russia, bringing the globe to the brink of World War III, all in time for an October surprise. John Bound for Infowars.com.
An October surprise, yeah. Well, the October surprise or November it sounds to me like the January surprise will be nuclear war with America, with Russia. They're pushing this New World Order thing. I think what they're trying to do is the depopulation thing, the thing that says on the Georgia Guidestones. Keep humanity at 500 million at all times. In other words, it's depopulation. What has to happen is a nuclear war, plagues, all these terrible things, just like the Bible warns us about, so that 3/4 of the world, or a quarter of the earth, or whatever it was in the Bible, will be destroyed, just as the Bible says. Because they can't control all of us, so they have to have a way to get rid of most of us so that they can get control of the remaining few. And out of the ashes, they will build their New World Order. But first, they have to exhaust the nuclear war part. So what they have to do is they have to allow peace to be taken from the earth, so that war will destroy half of the world. And unfortunately, that's sad, but the Bible does talk about places in the world where you could go, where you could be safe. The Christians will eventually leave and go out into the wilderness or whatever. But I'll get to that in a minute. First, I want to play this other clip where it's talking about the news about Putin basically wanting to go to war if Hillary becomes president, which is very scary. Just listen to this.
Vladimir Putin has declared that war with the United States is inevitable if Hillary Clinton wins. Yes, Kim McClendon for The Inquirer reports that Hillary Clinton brings the real threat of war, not Donald Trump, and that's according to Vladimir Putin, as Election News has Russia gearing up for a possible attack. They state that Hillary's image as a war hawk is lost on American mainstream voters, but Russia, Europe, and other nations are not so warm and fuzzy when it comes to Hillary Clinton. They state that, well, of course, Ms. Clinton's intercepted emails did not soothe their fears either. Vladimir Putin's open concerns about Hillary Clinton have put Russians and Romanians under a lot of stress. They write that Putin was encouraged by Donald Trump's message that he would be willing to work with Russian leaders, but as we know now, the FBI has essentially not going to be, they will not be indicting Clinton. So that only furthers the proof that if Clinton comes into the Oval Office, that tensions with Russia will continue to rise because of Clinton's war hawk attitude. So it apparently says here that the Russian public are actually scared to death of Hillary Clinton because of her war position. Now, as I've stated here a number of times, that, you know, and this is a very famous quote, war is the health of the state. And as the economy continues to be unstable, as we watch the ramifications of the Brexit, we watch the economic instability of the markets, just because of Britain deciding to stand on its own 2 feet against Europe and leave the EU, it shows just how vulnerable the markets are. So the only way that the markets can correct themselves is if the governments of the world inject massive amounts of cash into their war machines. Basically just turning on those printing presses, writing up those contracts, buying up the bullets, dumping the cash into the war machine, buying more planes and more tanks, and then they need bodies, so they go ahead and bring the bodies in to fill up, put in those tanks and put in those Humvees, send them overseas. Now, what do you have going on in the Baltics right now? Look, you've got the 4 rotational battalions. You've got the new 41,000 military base that's being put in Poland. You've also got the Romanian anti-missile defense system that Vladimir Putin has certainly raised concerns about. And then, of course, you've got those massive military drills led by the Germans and the rise of the EU army. So all these make for a perfect storm leading into the ultimate conflict, which Putin says, if Hillary gets into office, guess what? We are going to have a conflict with the United States in some capacity. So the war machine is continuing to move forward. Personally, hey, I would like to have trade discussions. I would like to have, let's have some real capitalism back in the world. Let's bring people's ability to live and enjoy life up. And let's not kill people through bombs and war. But hey, that's what the war hawks feast off of. War hawks like Hillary Clinton.
So why can't we all just get along? That's the question. The question here should be, why can't our nations get along, Russia and America? Why? Is it because America's debt is so high that we have to go to war to get the people's eyes off of the fact that we are so in debt? And there's no debt forgiveness. That's the other thing. There's no debt forgiveness. Why can't there be a debt forgiveness? No, because greed. Greed is ruling this world, and we all know that. Just like most of the stuff I'm telling you it's not like I thought of it, This is like people have heard this all before. But my point is, it's the pride and ego of these leaders. They will not back down. Hillary will not back down. She was sick for a while there. Oh, she's not giving up. She's not giving up, She's going to keep on going, powering on, It's whatever. It's this selfish, it's her own power. It's not God. There's none of this, it's not God that's going to help you. It's not going to you're not going to bow your knee to God. It's not asking for help. None of this. No. It's not being kind. I mean, when have you heard in any other election that presidential candidates can be talked about, how someone could kill them or someone should murder them? That's happened in this campaign, that Trump should be taken out. You know, you got Bush Sr. taking and sliding his finger across his neck when Trump was up on stage talking. Like, in other words, this guy needs to die. I mean, and that's a scary thing when you watch that. It's just, these people have gotten so sick and they're so over the top that the world can't handle it no more. And I'm sure Putin sees this, and I don't think Putin is the greatest either. They said that the Christians can't minister to non-believers outside of a church building, which is ridiculous. In other words, the non-believers have to go to a church building in order to hear the gospel. You can't minister on the streets. So they're starting to sound a little bit like China there, okay? That's Russia. So that sounds a lot like the way things are going here. So I don't know if Russia is exactly doing the right thing here either. But that's the truth. And the truth is that we're looking at a potential World War III. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I can't tell time or whatever, but it just seems like something's going to happen right before the elections. And they're going to blame the Russians. It seems like that's where we're going to go. We're going to go to war. The world knows that America is funding ISIS, okay? That's the worst part. Trump talks about this. It's not like it's new. And all this stuff has come out. But most Americans still don't pay attention to it. Just like they still don't pay attention to the fact that we have the NSA spying on us. That just went away. Well, you know what? I put a piece of electrical tape over my camera on all my devices, on my phone, my iPad, all that stuff. Now that sounds crazy. But then I saw the owner of Facebook does the same thing. Well, why would that guy do that? Isn't that crazy? No, it's because the NSA is spying on you, and you tend to not want to give them any extra things to spy on. And by the way, if they were doing it for a good reason, don't you think that they would have informed us about all the terrible things that they heard our government doing against us? Or all the terrible things that terrorists might have been doing and plotting before they did it? I haven't heard a thing. So if they're collecting all this data for some righteous reason, guess what? It's not a righteous reason. It's for evil purposes. It's so that when the enemy, the Antichrist or whatever, comes into power, he has a way to accuse the brethren both day and night, just like Satan does in heaven. But here's the thing. If we got Hillary as president, we're going toward tyranny like in the highest degree. She's already talked about having fun camps and having the liberals run them. What does that sound like to you? Fun camps for adults? I mean, you can watch the clip. You can look it up. I've already got too many clips on this show as it is. I'm not going to play 1,000 clips. But that's out there. You can look it up on YouTube. Fun camps. And she's already talked about Christians have to change their way of thinking when it comes to, gays, gay marriage, that type of stuff. So we have to curb our thinking for the state, for the government. And that's her mentality of thinking. That's how she thinks. And she says that she has a personal persona and a public persona. That came out too. So in other words, she could be lying to you in public, but she has a different point of view in her personal persona. So think about that. She's actually telling you that she's able to lie to you. So who can trust a person like that? A double-minded person like that. A person who's all about herself and making money for herself, and all. It's just this horrible thing. And what happened to that $2 billion that was supposed to be given to Haiti? Oh, that went missing. Where is that? Oh, that's like the Clinton Foundation? Oh, what happened to it? Sounds to me like she's got $2 billion to fund her campaign now, or do whatever she wants with it. She just took those people's money. They donated for a good cause. This is why I don't donate to anybody's causes over the internet, because I just don't trust. People could tell you 1,000 things over the internet, and you give donations to these big charities or whatever, and it just goes to the CEOs. And I'm sick of it. So call me a bad person for it, whatever. I don't care. Here's the thing. In the end times, when nuclear war or whatever World War III does come, it says that even with the